All right. So welcome to our webcast on the new Social Impact Measurement Professional Certificate at the University of St. Michael's College and the University of Toronto. And we have two of our alumni in the room already. So this is great. So you're familiar with the work that we do here. I'd like to note that this program evolved from the postgraduate diploma in social responsibility and sustainability. Every year, we poll our grads to find out what kind of competencies they want to continue to build. And every year, social impact measurement has been at the top of the list. So we went out to, we did our primary research and our secondary research, pulled together a group of subject matter experts, and developed this program based on their input. And it has been designed like the diploma program. It's experiential, so we're encouraging people to come with their social impact measurement strategy and use the opportunity to upgrade or flush it out in a different way, or to come with an idea around a program that they're going to launch and to develop their strategy. And if you don't have either of those options, then it's an opportunity to work on a case study. It is cohort based, but with the flexibility to choose individual modules to attend and gain micro credentials. And as I said, we have confused a lot of people by offering those two different options simultaneously. And of course, you're learning from practitioners and thought leaders and peers, and we'll be highlighting real practical case studies throughout. In fact, module 1, which is happening on June the 9th and 10th, we have people from Maple Leaf as well as Alterna Credit Union coming in. And we're going to look very specifically at their SROI, Alterna's SROI program, and spend some time focusing on that, as well as looking at the way that Maple Leaf is doing measurement as well. And I'm very excited that we have throughout the program really respected practitioners and thought leaders. And I'm going to introduce you to Anshula, who's our lead instructor in the program. So Anshula is a leading expert in impact measurement and reporting in Canada, having co-founded Social Value Canada and served on Ontario's Impact Measurement Task Force. She led Symmetrica, which is a SaaS platform for ESG and impact, for 14 years. And she's pioneered the application of AI to impact reporting, working with the University of Toronto to create an AI data standard that was adopted as part of the National Common Approach Standard. So at Symmetrica, she led implementations across sectors, developing frameworks and tracking billions in social investment. And she holds a bachelor in economics from the University of Toronto's Trinity College, with additional training on social impact measurement, investment, social return on investment and participation in the Next Founders program. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Angela.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I know we're a small group, which is great because that means you can ask questions as they come up. As you noticed on the previous slide, the session's being recorded. If you don't want to have to be recorded, you can just put your questions into the chat. So today, we're going to be talking about the challenge and the opportunity around the current kind of geopolitical environment, corporate environment, relating to DEI and social impact, and how obviously that is presenting quite a dynamic situation, and what the opportunity is for social impact measurement, why it matters now. We're also going to go into the professional certificate program structure. I think this is obviously, as Catherine mentioned, this is the first time we're running the certificate. And so clarifying some of how people can go through the program is really important and helpful. And then what makes this professional certificate unique, as well as any next steps we can take. As Catherine also may have mentioned, I am battling a cold, so I apologize, but I will strategically mute myself as we go through this presentation to spare you. Great. So the challenge and the opportunity of today's kind of environment, obviously we are dealing with political and economic headwinds south of the border, that will impact Canada. As a country, we're also starting to look to different trading partners, and that's going to have a big impact on on funding streams, particularly for asset managers or anyone working in a corporate environment. And because we're likely going to be extending relationships outside of just the US and particularly in Europe and Asia, these are geographies that have traditionally been very committed to ESG and impact measurement. And so we're going to be talking about, we're going to see a lot more partner expectations for measurable outcomes. Um, as a result of that, there's going to be a competition intensifying for every dollar of funding. So that whether you're working within an internal environment in your corporation and looking to expand corporate citizenship budgets versus working with external partners, either receiving or providing funding, there will be intensifying competition. And there'll also be climate change kind of reshaping those measurement priorities. So we are going to still see social impact measurement as a significant portion of measurement requirements. They are going to need to do more. We are going to need to be able to do more when it comes to social impact measurement. We'll need to show the linkage with climate change. We'll need to be able to show the impact of every dollar. Um, and we'll also be dealing with higher regulatory requirements, not just in Canada, but with our global trading partners over the next little while. So all of that to say, there's a need for social impact measurement professionals to bridge multiple disciplines. And this has always been the case when it's come to social impact measurement. Um, in the current state, social impact measurement exists as sort of a unique intersection. One of the big questions that we had going into this course was whether or not social impact measurement was its own profession. And you need several kind of pieces to that, including kind of more structured educational options. We've put out a sort of, or putting out a paper, kind of looking at this in more detail. One of the things we found, though, is that while social impact measurement is not quite its own unique profession like accounting yet, we are starting to see more kind of adaptation of pre-existing methods, as well as methods that are specific to social impact measurement that need to be implemented. So while certification and standards for social impact measurement are still voluntary, uh, they are moving, the direction of travel is towards more standardization. So one of the things that we are doing as a big part of this course is actually establishing social impact measurement as an emerging profession. That's going to be really important, particularly as the challenges and opportunities around social impact measurement increase. There will be more need for professionals like yourselves who are able to actually do social impact measurement in the day-to-day. That includes setting strategies and actually implementing measurement, which is not the most simple of methodologies to actually implement. There will be remuneration that is adjusted in order to get social impact measurement professionals, and who are able to, and particularly for individuals who are able to kind of move between different professions as they go through the process of implementing social impact measurement within their organizational context. So that really presents an opportunity to be part of the emerging profession. Receiving the recognition through either the U of T social impact measurement course and postgraduate certificate, or through any other kind of formal educational program will present an ability to future employers and your current employers to add more value to any organization you join. One of the things that we've done within the impact measurement professional certificate is actually enable individuals to move between multidisciplinary skill sets. And we're going to talk in a moment about why that's really important. But because of that kind of emerging focus of social impact measurement, the ability to take economics, accounting, and any other kind of form of discipline that feeds into this type of work is really important, and to be able to use that vocabulary with the variety of professionals. I think we can even see that today in what we've heard from individuals who are joining the workshop. People are coming from accounting backgrounds, they're coming from community organizing backgrounds. All of being able to kind of shift between these different disciplines is actually quite important. So in terms of just kind of going into the specific kind of disciplines that are required, the major ones is around, first of all, economics. I obviously a little biased just because that's my educational background, and I would say that it's not the most important. We do need to be able to move to between different disciplines with equal measure and focus. So, but however, with economics, a lot of social impact measurement uses valuations, externality, cost benefit analysis. Sociology uses systems thinking and participatory methods. In each of these, I just want to point out that social impact measurement is using both the fundamental concepts of these areas as well as the methods and tools that are required in the day-to-day. Accounting is really important within this work. So frameworks for capturing and reporting value.
Angela, I'm going to note that your slides are not advancing.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's all right. I thought maybe you were still doing the preamble, but now I've looked at the slides and gone, no, no,
Okay, let
we've
me.
moved on. Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry about that. No, thank you for letting me know. Do you see the change?
Yes, we're good now.
Okay. And how about that?
Yes.
Like, okay. Okay. Odd. Okay, thank you very much for letting me know. So, uh, we'll send the slides in afterwards. Apologies for that. And thank you, Catherine, for letting me know. So within social impact measurement as a profession, individuals actually need to have a little bit of understanding at least of each of these four major areas. They may come from an educational background that only focuses one or the other, and that's totally fine. As I mentioned, economics is my area of expertise from an academic background. But one of the things that we'll be doing in the course is touching on all four of these kind of fundamental educational areas and talking about how do we actually implement these things into social impact measurement. So for organizations that have the personnel who can do those things, that can be multidisciplinary while also bringing to bear your specific kind of core area of expertise, whether that's accounting, community organizing, economics, program evaluation, um, those organizations are going to be able to access this kind of increasingly competitive funding, build resilience during the economic uncertainty that we are feeling, transform that data into strategic insights, demonstrate the value to the diverse stakeholders. And so when we are able to move forward in these areas, that is exactly what's required in the dynamic environment that we're now working within. What we're already seeing in the market is that organizations that have worked solely in Canada and have relied on kind of US funding partners are now looking to Europe and Asia to fill those gaps. And as I mentioned earlier, there are different expectations in different geographies that we'll need to be meeting. Being able to create a data set that will meet social impact measurement requirements and then transform them to meet the challenges that we're now facing as social impact measurement practitioners is going to require a more specialized skill set. And in some ways, that's exciting from the idea of social impact measurement as a profession. This is a key time to invest in these skills because we're going to see further professionalization and further organizing and standardization within the kind of specific field of social impact. I'm just going to pause there and just see if there's any questions as we go through.
Any questions? I noticed, Quinn, you were saying, with your background in accounting and that you felt that this was kind of like a good next step.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've when I sort of my first interest in CSR in general kind of came from like figuring out how I could work corporate social responsibility and sustainability, just giving my job more purpose, as well as just, yeah, finding something to kind of extend the sort of, I mean, boring, you could say, accounting reporting. and it just seemed like there seems like some kind of crossover there, but I wasn't really sure what it was. And that's sort of kind of what led me to the diploma program that I'm in now. So that when I saw this, I kind of thought, oh, this is interesting because it seems to be even more focused on, I guess, what I had originally kind of pictured as far as like working that into the work that I already do, as opposed to like fully starting a new career and leaving behind, you know, because I enjoy my job. I didn't necessarily feel like I wanted to like, you know, start something totally new, but more figure out how to like integrate this work into what I'm already doing. So, and I wasn't really sure, like there seems to be a lot of other sort of certifications out there, like the IFRS standards and that you can go at. So I guess maybe a question could be like, what sort of, how would the program here maybe stand apart from some of those other, what would the main differences be? Like, would we be learning reporting in that same kind of capacity, or is this more theoretical, I guess?
I would actually say, I think, you know, the IFRS has great offerings around social impact measurement as well. I think the difference here is that we are looking at this from, well, there's a few key differences. One, we're looking at this from a multidisciplinary perspective, and we're also looking at it from the conceptual level. So kind of what are all the disciplines that are feeding into social impact measurement? How do we use the methodologies that exist there to create from scratch a social impact measurement framework in any context?
Mm.
And connecting it to business strategy
Right.
directly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's that crossover between the two to make it
Yeah.
really
That
practical.
seems like the strategy part kind of makes it feel a bit more interesting even than just like pure numbers.
Yeah.
And like the way that accounting kind of looks at things.
Yeah. I mean, you're coming from an accounting background, so you know, you've kind of seen this in action, right? But you can have any set of numbers, like you can split up any transaction into whatever you want it to be, to do whatever you want in an income statement. But the difference between doing that in a way that is aligned with standards, but also true to the picture of what's on the ground, that comes from gap principles. So what are the kind of gap principles, so to speak, in social impact measurement? Well, they are a little bit more complex. So instead of learning a set of tasks that need to be done for social impact measurement, we're actually, that is part of it. But the bigger thing is, what are the principles that are going to guide any social impact measurement process within an organization so that it is robust and transparent?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Great. Okay. Just checking that works. The slide moving forward. I see you're speaking. Is that, are we?
Go ahead. Yeah, it's all right.
Okay, fantastic. No problem. I just want to make sure. So basically we have different modules. So this is a great segue. The first thing that we're starting from is concepts and definitions. So we're actually going to be talking about what are we borrowing from various disciplines, and then what are the glossary of terms that are generally accepted and what we're going to be using in the course. We are going to look at some case studies, both from a qualitative perspective of methodology and quantitative. And we'll have some experts coming in talking about how to navigate the ambiguity and areas of that require clarity in any social impact measurement process. We'll be also looking at how do we take that approach and put them into metrics and indicators. So again, you can have any set of metrics and indicators, and we'll actually be looking at some somewhat lopsided kind of measurement approaches that may not have gone as well and have attracted some of the risks that we're concerned about: greenwashing, pinkwashing, etc. And how do we actually avoid that? Well, we start from the concepts and definitions, and we ensure that we have a clear set of principles in terms of the metrics and indicators. So how are we navigating that process is something that we dive into really well. We're looking also at the theory of change, which is a core sort of understanding of and kind of theoretical framework that we'll be using throughout the course. So this is a separate, distinct module. We'll be looking at what is a theory of change, what is a theory of change diagram, How do we take on stakeholder and partner analysis to ensure that we're getting the right voices in the room? Because one of the key changes with social impact measurement is that the partners that we're working with, internal and external to the organization, actually feed in to what is being measured and how it's being measured. There's going to be some areas around ensuring that there's ethical partner engagement, particularly if we're working with more vulnerable communities. We want to ensure their voices are heard, but also that we're staying within the lines of what's considered an ethical boundary. And then as a separate module, we'll also be looking at that business and impact case. And so we just kind of spoke about this earlier. You can have your impact measurement, but unless it is actually strategically separate from unless it's strategically integrated into the business goals of an organization, it becomes really challenging to have that be something that can be used by to kind of move forward social impact cases and programs, and also to communicate that with the right internal stakeholders to get buy-in. So in each of these, we are going to be going through very specific kind of culminating assessments, and you can see that those in blue at the bottom of the slide. You will actually be creating a theory of change. You'll also be actually identifying and creating your own metrics, coming up with a measurement plan, creating a business case document, as well as risk assessment and impact reports. I do see some chat messages, so I'm just going to quickly look through those.
That's just me.
Okay, great. Yes. So yes, correct. So the theory of change is one of the areas that does connect directly to strategy. And it is connecting the organization's value and the social impact value. So, we're not existing in a white tower. So we do go very quickly in the course from this high level set of fundamentals to how do we actually get buy-in into an organization, and how do we create robust measurement metrics that withstand the right kinds of pressures to create something that is principled and transparent. From there, we actually go into data collection and technology. So a lot of organizations that I've seen throughout my career will have a really great theory of change, but the actual data collection and technology piece can still be a challenge. This is partially areas of organizational policy, so privacy policy, any kind of ethical requirements and technology requirements. Depending on the breadth and depth of the implementation, sometimes a technology platform is required. And so that brings into mind additional budgets, additional buy-in, etc. So we do walk through how to ensure that, again, you kind of started with this great sort of theoretical framework and the theory of change and tied that into the organization. When the rubber hits the road in terms of actually collecting data on your indicators and metrics, how do you go about data collection strategy? How do you integrate that with either pre-existing or new technology, or none at all? And how do you actually get partner consent to collect data in an ethical manner? The next challenge in any impact measurement, social impact measurement process, is a reporting strategy. And this is actually an area that we're going to see even more fragmentation on because of some of the kind of more broad-based challenges that I talked about earlier around funding going under greater competition, more movement towards mandatory frameworks, as well as geographic kind of fragmentation in terms of where funding is coming from. All that means is that we'll have one set of data which needs to meet several internal and external stakeholder requirements. So how do we give balanced, credible reports to our board, to our higher ups, to people who have been involved in the reporting to ensure that they're getting value out of it, and then to externals as well. And usually what we see is that, in fact, I should say what we've always seen is that it's never just one report. There is other data streams going to various stakeholders. That becomes very challenging. However, there are strategies we can use to make that as light as possible for the social impact measurement practitioner who is taking on quite a bit of risk in actually disseminating this information. You want it to be correct. And it needs to also meet any kind of organizational policy. So what are the strategies we use to set expectations? What are the templates and kind of approaches and processes we can put in place to build that pipeline from, theory of change all the way down to reporting strategy? And then from there, I know I'm saying a lot about challenges, but I should say that this whole process is also very exciting when it leads to real change in an organization. So the next step there is, how do you actually manage the data that's coming out of your reporting strategy? Some of the exciting case studies that we've seen is that, and that we'll be discussing in the course, is how do organizations take the information that they get from social impact measurement, go to the board, and actually start to create mitigation strategies for any harms being caused, as well as improvement to be actually deliver more value to their stakeholders and partners. So impact management can only be based on a social impact measurement strategy that is robust and rich in terms of providing the right context and data at the right time. So how do we create those decision support dashboards? How do we have a continuous improvement plan? And so again, all of this will be throughout the entire course. We've talked about kind of providing accurate and very hands-on approaches to how do we deal with these issues. But you'll also walk away with a transferable set of skills, and that transferability is going to come from a very deep foundation and understanding of social impact measurement and that multidisciplinary approach that we're talking about earlier. So as part of all of this, how do you set up internal processes where this is not a one-time event, but something that's going to be ongoing monitoring and feedback? So there are always going to be champions in the organization around social impact measurement and people who are have more questions and skepticism. How do we ensure that everyone is still feeding into this process and leading to better outcomes for stakeholders and partners? Again, I'm just going to pause there for a moment and see if there's any questions.
Any questions from anybody in terms of, okay, those are kind of the modules or the story that we're taking you through each of these modules. The data ones are in person. So the very first module is in person, and then the two where we're focusing on kind of the data strategy or determine what kind of indicators on the data strategy, those are in person because they're pretty in depth. And then the others are going to be online. So that's the kind of the way that we're offering. So it is a blended approach. Troy?
Yeah, so I understand that you can take one module as a micro credential. Given that this is a sort of a journey you're setting us on, a path. I just what would you recommend? Like, some of the things I'm very interested in is the metrics and indicators. That was one of the things that drew me initially, the overall course. I actually went to Queen's University, studied in the business program there, received a social impact certificate through their program many years ago. So this is an area that I'm passionate about, but now in my current role, working for a municipality, building out partnerships across a community, I'm looking at the applicability of this from a different lens, where the municipality as a local government building relationships with nonprofits, charities, and corporations, and understanding how we can evaluate the impact of the programs that we create together. I know it's a bit of a different lens, but I'm very interested in that evaluative component and understanding how we build out a robust framework for metrics and indicators. Do you think that I would love to take the whole program, but I'm just trying to understand, can someone insert themselves really, and do you think they could extract a lot of value from just one module? Would they feel lost in the mix of what you're trying to provide over 7 modules if they came in sort of a one?
And Sheila, do you want to take a kick at that, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, sure. I can take a go. So I think so actually it sounds like you're dealing with a really interesting set of challenges, which is awesome. A lot of the work that will also be, so I should mention this course, it's multidisciplinary in terms of the inputs. The application is also cross-sector. So if you're working in government, that is a separate set of challenges. And we'll be bringing in other instructors and speakers, of course. in my previous role, we actually did quite a bit of work with the federal government and some municipalities as well. And so those challenges are unique in this, or somewhat unique in the sense that you're obviously dealing with the local government, but the need to aggregate that data and to come up with meaningful measurement across the portfolio of investments while maintaining that nuance is really challenging. And so what I would say is like, yes, it'd be great if you can take the whole course. However, you can also, I would recommend considering if, if you want to, considering some of, oops, sorry, let me just go back here. You can kind of, I would recommend the theory of change. Metrics and indicators would be helpful as well. I think the business and impact case may not be as, if you're kind of having to pick and choose, that
Yep.
might be something that you can kind of leave to the side. You can always go through the first few modules and decide, if you want to go whole hog. But I would actually say data collection and technology would be good. We're careful with the technology piece to always provide another option, right? Because technology as a procurement process can be very challenging for government. So you'll leave with an understanding of like, what are the other options available to you if you don't want to go through a technology process, but we'll also be bringing in some technology providers who may be a good fit, and that's a separate thing. But no matter what technology you get, having the right implementation process is incredibly important, that kind of aggregation as well as the nuance within each group, and that will be covering in the data collection and technology piece. I think the reporting strategy may be of secondary benefit just because you'll have like you kind of already know what data or what kind of reporting is required by law. However, that might also be valuable. But just in your very particular case, I would say concepts and definitions, metrics and indicators, theory of change, and then data collection and technology. And of course, you can add into other micro credentials. I will say that if you took the whole course, it's probably the best just because you can get that kind of overview
Yeah.
of everything. However, that's my opinion. I don't know, Catherine, if you've got other thoughts.
Yeah, I was just thinking if you're already using some of these elements like the theory of change, maybe you don't need to, we're going to talk about theory of change and logic models and reverse logic models and kind of look at all these different elements, and it depends on how much you're utilizing that already. And if you're not, then it would be good to take that. So the first module is focusing on the fundamentals, which talks about those definitions and concepts. And then the second module goes into the theory of change, and the third module goes into metrics and indicators, and then the business case, etc. So yeah, so it'd be up to you and how you feel at the level that you're already operating on. But definitely we built it so that people could go through the whole thing and feel like they were building their skills and applying them as they go along.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Other questions? Okay, great question. All right.
Excellent. So in terms of the next steps, the timing for this course is really interesting. So Catherine actually approached me about this course. I think actually, Catherine, it's now been a year almost
Yes.
today. And it was a very different time then. The social impact measurement, for me personally, has always been a passion and something I'm really excited about. The timing for this course has changed quite a bit. What the I think the urgency of this course, because we are going to see more requirement, not less, for social impact measurement in particular organizational contexts. And we are going to be working with with less resources, which is an unfortunate kind of dynamic. Within this course, one of the takeaways that you get is if you go through every single course or every single module, you will actually get a fully baked out social impact measurement sort of reporting system that you've built with us. And so that, and also transferable skills, which I think can be really valuable. So the course length, 6 months, Catherine, correct me if I'm wrong in this, but I believe that there is time, if you sign up for the full course, you have some time to kind of complete various parts of it. It's a blend of online and in-person sessions. I promise I will not have a cold when we meet in person. The next cohort starts on June 9th. And so for the investment that you're getting, depending on your early registration or not, a 7,250 at full rate, you are getting quite a bit of value that's immediately applicable to your organization, that you can kind of take forward and keep working on, as well as the ability to take this forward in future roles. Catherine, is there anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I have so many people come into the diploma program saying, we needed to develop a strategy for social responsibility and sustainability in our organization. And it was sort of like, we could develop that competency internally, or we could hire a consultant to work with us. And so developing that competency internally is what we're all about. And that's what we are trying to do here. So that June date is the next in-person session. And then it will carry on with the module 2, 3 in the fall, and then we'll finish up in the winter time with the final modules. So there will be a number, and then each year we'll repeat that cycle. And so you do have up to 3 years to complete it. So if you didn't want to do the whole thing in the period of time in the first cycle, you could join the next cohort and join the second, do it at a later time. Yeah, so that's kind of what the plan of action is. And we have some really great people in the current cohort, people from Allstate Insurance and Kindred Credit Union and Eli Lilly. And we do have somebody from the Downtown Young Business group, Troy. So, someone who's not necessarily at the municipal level, but thinking from a business group standpoint. We have consulting companies, Sleeman Breweries. So it's quite a interesting combination of folks that are going to be in the room, including it looks like there will be one manufacturing operation that's actually looking at being able to identify some of the positive social and environmental impacts associated with certain things they're doing within their organization. And they want to understand the social impact measurement better so that they can quantify that, which is going to be a totally different way of looking at this. So yeah, that's are there any other outstanding questions, Farah? I know you were kind of saying, hey, this could be good for the future of Volunteer Canada and understanding our citizenship processes. If you're still with us, I don't know, because your camera's off. You could have wandered away.
I'm eating lunch mode.
Oh, that's okay.
Apologies. Yeah, no, I mean, it is definitely something. I mean, it would be for my personal use, but definitely bringing it to our larger knowledge products here, and providing leadership to our members, and not only our members but just the sector and as a whole. I think Volunteer Canada, we're looking to step more boldly into our role as leading the sector in Canada. And one thing we're definitely hearing over and over again, which is I'm sure why you started this program, is that this is an area that folks need some direction in, and folks need some help in. And you're seeing that, through all the different sectors that we work with. So I see it as, which is why I kind of keep showing up in these, because I really see it as valuable, and it's definitely conversations that we're having. And as well, I'm finding that folks that work in the social impact space are more and more being brought into sort of new, more inclusive business units that involves, sustainability, etc. So when you're looking at reporting and putting out those annual reports, I think companies or organizations are just getting more sophisticated in the way that they're looking at this sort of work holistically. And so our social side is becoming more, where I live, is becoming more important.
I wonder too if we're going to see over time more collaborative efforts between business and the social area, and actually even with government, because we need, and an example I'll give you is Gore Mutual Insurance. Their foundation started a change lab that focused on the interaction or the interconnection between equity and climate change. And now other insurance companies and partners are joining that initiative to kind of identify how can we help vulnerable communities both adapt and mitigate climate change at the local level. And that's something that government could be part of as well. So in order to do that and be able to demonstrate the overall impact, having good measures that everyone can use will be really important.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I think that like we're in a very weird time right now, as we all know. And so I think going through this weird, sort of difficult, challenging time, I mean, if there's any benefits, it's that, it sort of forces us to change. And so this, the industry will look, I think, stronger and a little different as we move through this. And I think, creating those stronger foundations, particularly around, and more rigor around the work will play into it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that whole focus on value creation, I just came away from a 2-day session where we were talking about reporting and social responsibility and sustainability, and connecting it to this, again, going back to what Quinn was saying, good strategy of the organization, looking for the value creation opportunities and focusing on the data, and both qualitative and quantitative. And I know it's qualitative data is kind of an oxymoron, but bringing those elements together to effectively report on the progress that we're making.
Yes. Catherine, I think there's a couple of questions in the chat as well.
Okay, great. So yeah, Quinn's asking, do the courses need to be taken in a particular order? I'd be interested in taking classes in the fall, but I don't think I'll be able to make it out in Toronto in June. Yes. And we are recommending in a certain order, Quinn, and we are also planning in September on running the module running in June again, so that we'll have 2 groups of people to fit into that one cohort, so that it will be a more robust cohort. So you will have that opportunity. We haven't set that date yet because we didn't want to discourage people for signing up in June, because we want all the people we can get into that program. Yeah, so that's very good question. Other questions that people have? I haven't heard from Jared or.
There's also a question about if you sign up for the full certificate, do you have to pay the rate up front?
Oh, that's a good question. We certainly don't require that during the so just talk to me, because we're just launching this now, so it's the first time. But with the diploma program, we do offer opportunities to pay as you go along. So I'm sure that we can do the same.
Yeah. Okay. That's because I noticed that some of the courses will take place next year as well as part of the certificate. So just from an accounting standpoint, understanding where does the cash need to flow
that's
to make that investment as a corporation.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you. That's good. That's very helpful.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Any other questions that people have?
One thing I'd just say about the June versus September intake is that with the June intake, you'll just have access to the instructors from module 1 for a bit longer as well. So if you need time to kind of think about your case study, any kind of implementation stuff, particularly I as the lead instructor will be more available as well, just from a time perspective. If you sign up in September, you'll also have access to me, but it will start in September, not June.
And I think the beauty of this is that as you're developing the strategy or refining it or however approach you're taking, you're going to have the instructors providing input as you go along. In fact, we do have assessments because it is a certificate. You will be graduating from the University of St. Michael's College at the University of Toronto when you finish this. And so there are assessments, and you'll have input from not only your peers in the group, but from the instructors. So it's really, you're going to have a really polished finished project when you're done. So that's great. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone. I will follow up with the slides, the link to the program, and hopefully a few of you might be joining us in June. We've got a great program with some really excellent case studies. So thanks so much for being here, everybody, and thank you, Anshula. Terrific presentation.
Thank you, everyone. Great to meet everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.